Welcome to Monday Morning Quarterback, a weekly feature from Cannon Church in Snellville, Georgia. I'm Tim Emmett, the senior pastor at Cannon, and on Monday mornings we connect the message from Sunday, the game of football, and the week ahead. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 8. As you probably know, if only because you have heard it from me, the Steelers of the 70s feature one of the greatest defenses in NFL history. 5 of their starters are now in the Hall of Fame. Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blount, Donnie Shell. They were among the greatest players of their era and in NFL history. Lots of other Steelers who played on their defense at that time, though not in the Hall, were stars in their own right, among the best players of their era. One year, in fact, 10 out of 11 defensive starters made the Pro Bowl. When all 10 found themselves on the field at the same time in the Pro Bowl that year, Jack Lambert, the middle linebacker and defensive captain for the Steelers, started calling Steeler defenses. The odd man out, that 11th man on the field, not a Steeler, asked what he should do. Lambert just told him, don't get in the way. That defense was filled with stars, Hall of Famers, perennial Pro Bowlers, and you might recognize some of the names, perhaps all of the names that I've already mentioned. But one name you probably don't know from that defense, the defense of the 70s, is John Banaszak. Banaszak joined the Steelers in 1975, the year after they won their first Super Bowl. He was never a star. He was on the roster in 75 when the Steelers won their second Super Bowl. He played a couple years later in Super Bowl 13 when the Steelers won their third Super Bowl, and he did start for the Steelers at defensive tackle in 1979 when they won Super Bowl 14, their fourth in 6 years. Banaszak was not a great player. He had some great games, but he was not a great player, and he never made the Pro Bowl. He was an undrafted free agent out of college. He got offers from 5 teams. He signed with the Steelers because he wanted to be on a team that would play for championships. Even though he was largely unknown outside of Pittsburgh, even though very few people know who he is today, Steeler fans loved him. All of the stars had fan clubs back then. Many of them would bring banners to the games, hang them in the stadium during the game. Banaszak, although a backup and not a star when he started, had a fan club. It was a really big fan club. They had a huge banner that they would unfurl at home games. They loved him in part because they could really kind of identify with him. He grew up in Cleveland, a rival city of the Steelers with Pittsburgh, but really a lot like Pittsburgh, a steel town. Banaszak's grandfathers both were steel workers. His dad worked in a factory his whole life. And Banaszak had to work really hard just to be good. The other Steeler players, they worked really hard to be great. He had to work really hard just to be good. He was not a star. He was not a Hall of Famer, not a Pro Bowler, but he was a key contributor in that 79 team that won their 4th Super Bowl. You know, this past Sunday at Cannon Church, like many other churches, we celebrated All Saints Sunday. It's a day that was created to honor the John Banaszaks in our lives. Ordinary people, not famous people, who make a big difference. All Saints Day was started it was an opportunity for Christians to remember and to celebrate those who had lived and died in Christ, family members, friends. It was a day to remember them, give thanks to God for them. It was a day for ordinary, hardworking people of God who loved their neighbors as themselves, who loved and served their families, who served their community, not famous, not well known, but they made a big impact in the ordinary things that they did in their, from one perspective, very ordinary lives. All Saints Day is a day for the John Banaszaks of the world. So what's the game plan for this week? It's really an invitation to pull out a banner, unfurl a banner in your heart for the John Banaszaks in your life. Banaszak himself is still living, but I bet you have a few people in your life, parents, grandparents, teachers, coaches, people who are not with us anymore, but they are part of your life. They have made a deep impact on you, your family, your community. And All Saints Day is a wonderful time for us to just pause, remember them, reflect on the difference they've made in your life, and give thanks to God for them, to unfurl a banner for the Banaszaks in your life. That's the invitation for this week. I hope you have a great week.